Hey guys, welcome to Tree Bark. This is a very special episode because I actually have a fursuit maker, an artist no less, and I'm really excited to introduce you guys.
Well, my name's Chris. I've been making fursuits since 2012.
Did you from the get-go start making suits, or did it just develop slowly over the course of, you learning about the fandom and getting to know people?
Well, when I got into the fandom, I started looking at art online, and as I was younger, I kind of got out of the art aspect and drawing, and I saw fursuits one day, and it caught my attention. So that was like a whole new perspective for me in the fandom,
Mm,
and I wanted one. So, when you're 16, 17, what are you gonna do when you want a suit and
yeah,
you
for
don't have
sure.
any money? So
Yeah.
I just started to start making them. And one guy who's pretty local to me, I offered to make a suit online just for a few hundred, and I got a biter. So I made my first suit. It came out pretty all right, and it just kind of started this huge thing. Um,
So it wasn't
Eventually, hmm?
No, yeah, so it wasn't like I mean you at least started out drawing though in art. Like did you do commissions in sketching or anything for
Oh
anybody
no,
actually?
no, no, not at all. I was kind of like a nerd at school when it came to stuff like that. I was big into RuneScape, so I drew a lot of like
Hell yeah.
medieval stuff.
Same.
But eventually, I did do some anthropomorphic stuff like werewolves, but I never really grew into the werewolf thing. I ended up liking foxes a lot more. So
Mm.
here I am, a blue fox.
Actually, yeah, sorry, I didn't introduce it. Yeah, so your Sona is a blue fox, yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh
guess I never really talk about him. Usually, just everyone just calls me by my actual name, like by Chris a lot.
oh, okay.
Uh, but yeah, no, I'm a blue fox. I guess a little bit behind that, I I grew up a lot in the country. So we were always around a lot of trees and deer and just wide
Oh
variety of
wow.
animals. We even have bear up here. It's crazy,
Oh
black
wow.
bear. Um,
Like right in your
but no,
backyard kind of thing?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
right in
snap.
back. It's crazy. Um, no, one day at one of the houses they lived at, Knoxboro, I, I was looking out back in a field one day, and I just saw like this one red fox, and it's just slowly walking out of these bushes, and I'm just watching him walk out, and I was just amazed. It was like crazy perfect. And as he started walking along, all of a sudden, like a baby fox came out, and it was
Ah.
just like, heart melting. I loved it. So just seeing the way the sun was setting and just the environment around, it was just like this perfect harmonious
Mm.
moment for me. And I've never seen nature in such beauty before, and it just made me appreciate and love foxes that much more.
Yeah,
Um,
that's definitely something that I can't experience here in Hawaii. But yeah, when I go to the mainland, that's something like even seeing a squirrel or something amazes me because we.
oh, we have plenty of squirrels. You can take them.
I'm surprised that's not a lot more people's notice.
Yeah, everyone else would be a little bit more nutty.
That's true. Not gonna lie. We're all a bit nutty. But
A little bit.
okay, so starting out with art, your first actual commission though, like even practicing the craft was a commission for making
Yeah.
somebody what, a partial or a full suit?
Yep, I hopped right into it. My first ever commission was just a partial. Um, I had 250 bucks to work with, and at that time I didn't have really any materials other than a basic sewing machine and a pair of scissors. So I did what I can do,
Mm.
and I made what I made, and
Oh, so you
eventually,
you had some like crafting experience, or like was it through like me personally? The only thing that I knew about like from middle school was like home ec. I learned a little bit of sewing and stuff like that, but did you have like any mentor or like did your parents encourage that kind of thing or
oh,
how did
not at
how
all.
oh all
When I told
self-taught?
my mom I was, yeah, when I told my mom I was gonna sew, she was like, "What?" Um, the schools I grew up around, they were pretty rural, so we didn't have a lot of classes to choose from. Um, we didn't do sewing or anything like that, but I did like tech. That was one thing we did do, and it wasn't
Mm,
anything too crazy. Nothing sewing related for sure, but I made a couple sets of armor, but it was like cardboard craft. That was like the limitations I had. That was all I really had made at that point
mm,
for like large costumes. But when it came around to suits, I was really determined. So I wanted to make one, and after I made my first one, I learned a lot, and I just had this huge rush of inspiration, and I just wanted to keep rolling with it and get better and better and better. Um, but no, I just went for it,
Oh, so
and
after that, it kind of just naturally evolved for you to like learn things on your own through the internet, or did you pick up books or?
yeah, I mean, I did a lot of just researching on YouTube, I guess, as
Mm-hmm.
anyone would start out, and just some basic stitchings and get that
Yeah.
out of the way so I know what I'm doing because I didn't know anything about sewing. So I did use YouTube a little bit, but I didn't watch any fursuit tutorials per se. And at the time, I mean, back in 2012, fursuits were still kind of like they were a new concept kind of back then. They were getting better from makers. People were growing their companies, and there wasn't a lot of options out there. The technology
Mm-hmm.
definitely wasn't what it's like nowadays with all the 3D printing and such.
Yeah, you
Um,
guys
s-
can do so many more things now with things like that
uh,
I've seen you make before with the nose accessories or the teeth themselves. Um, that yeah, that medium didn't really exist or it hasn't matured as much as it is over like the past 10 years.
yeah, back then we were limited to they. It was this horrible material, in my opinion. It was like this hard plastic
Oh.
mesh that you sew yarn into, and you could sew like little patterns or whatever on like a flat disc. But people would cut these plastic mesh strips into like long rectangles, and you would sit there with yarn and stitch them together and
Oh.
make this really wonky bucket. But the thing with that is every fursuit ended up looking the same. So I attempted that method, and about halfway through, I said, I don't really like the way this is going. It was taking too long, and I actually gave up. I just quit
Was
on my
was that
first attempt.
was that material actually like a common regular like things for like anime conventions that like a prop like material that a lot of people would use, or was that more in like the fursuit space that you saw people use?
I can't say that I've seen it in cosplay use, honestly.
Oh.
It was a YouTube thing for furries. I think that was like one of the OG ways people started building suits is like mesh helmet and then you add foam on top of it. But I didn't really like that approach, so I went with I learned that people can just carve from it, and I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. So I'd rather carve from a block of foam. And then I
Yeah.
tried that out, and I didn't like the block approach either. I
Oh.
learned my symmetry was off because I'm blind in my left eye. So
Yeah,
every
we
time I tried carving from a block, it would come out lopsided.
you'd have to take some time to look at one side and evaluate the other, rotate it slowly and stuff. So that's more of like a coming from the block is more of like a sculptor's approach. You're actually like slowly chipping away at like a block of wood or something, and you're like forming it in like in kind of like a clay way.
Yeah, yeah, I like that approach a lot more. I'm finding, well, I found that sculpting has just been, it's my favorite part. It's honestly my favorite part of making suits. Once you just start grinding away all the foam and you start to actually see the shape come together from just like this raw form, it's awesome. Um, yeah, the way it's developed over the years, I cut that block way out and I
Mm.
started just taking layers of foam and sandwiching it together. It worked for my system a little bit better since that lopsided thing kept occurring. I started using kind of like my own imaginary grid of lines, and I draw out a specific way to do something, and then I would follow that line with the scissors and just round everything out over time. Um,
Oh wow.
with this
So you just use like a regular like pair of shears to just actually like dig into the foam and start clipping around it?
uh, just a basic pair of scissors.
Oh
These
wow.
ones, in fact. Yeah, the way I get around some of that is I use different thicknesses of foam. I'll show you on the side here. Like on the muzzle, I start out with a half inch, and then
Yeah,
I
I can
move
see
it
that.
to a 1 inch thick, and then it goes into 2 inch. And using all those different thicknesses of foam, they kind of give you a predetermined measurement. And once I know what the measurement is, you can kind of build the head out and keep it symmetrical and uh, the lines that the foam creates, it kind of gives me a guide to cut with the scissors. So
Yeah, I can
if I'm
really
cutting at an
see
angle.
Yeah, I can really see like there's that thing that we talked about before, sort of that Lego aspect that you
Yeah,
mentioned, where
yeah.
it all fits together really, really well, and you can see that within your geometry and like your precision there.
Yes.
So for the coming from the head, because I know like that's like the most attention grabbing piece. Like, is there a lot of like the similar process that goes into making the paws? I don't really know or imagine more for like the foam based things. What would
Mm,
that be? The tail or?
so paws and tails, there's a few different approaches I do. With hand paws, it's pretty much as straightforward as just sketching a pair out. I mean, we all start with like a hand trace of our basic hand,
Yeah.
and then from there, I'll just draw out the pattern on like my iPad or something and sketch it out quick, and then I could print it out. And once I get something that I like that's symmetrical, you could just take the pattern, flip it,
Just trace right over it.
yeah, trace right over it. As far as like making the physical paws go, it's just taking the pattern, tracing it out on the fur, cutting it out, then you're sewing it, and then you just got to add a liner. Um, Tails, I do things a little bit differently. Now, tails can be tricky, and it's something I've learned over the years of sizing.
Mm.
I like larger tails, but I don't like too small of tails. If you're gonna make a full suit with a tail attached, it should flow and it should look like it's a part of it, I think. And sizing has been a problem for me
Yeah,
in the past.
that's That's definitely a good point, like mentioning the flow. You see, I guess it's a lot of early creators when they start. You see a lot of the tails just kind of dangling there or hanging there. That doesn't seem like, no, because I notice as artists
Yeah.
mature that they get this sense of like anatomy like strengthened, and you get like tighter curls and tighter like joints, and it's really impressive. It's really like beautiful.
Yeah, and coming from like zero anatomy experience, it's just
Yeah.
something that you gotta pay attention to over the years. But with tails, resizing, it's hard because I don't have a customer here with me. So all we really have as makers to go off of is a duct tape dummy. So that duct tape dummy has to be, as well put together as possible. So what I've done to do the sizing, I'll draw the tail out in our
Mm-hmm.
program and sketch out a rough design. And once I have that together, I'll print it out and I'll do a micro scale of it, like tiny couple inches. And what I do is I stand the duct tape dummy up, full size, and
So for
I'll
those real quick who don't know what a DTD is, a duct tape dummy is it's a form that people make at home, usually called like duct tape dummy parties, and they'll actually like put on a painter's suit and then they'll cover and wrap themselves in like yards and yards of duct tape to get that form mold, and then they'll cut themselves out of it and then they'll send it to the maker.
yeah, that's also when you become real good friends with everyone.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure you
You
have a
learn a
lot.
lot about each other. It's a fun time.
It's a bonding
Uh,
experience.
it is a bonding experience. I don't miss doing them.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, holding your arms out and then just losing
yeah,
all the
the
circulation.
T-posing for like 2 hours straight.
Yeah, it's basically a human analog for a T pose. Yep. But you mentioned, okay, so that kind of reminds me like when you start off small, like as an artist, like I do when I'm developing my ideas, I'm like thumbnailing it. So is that the equivalent of in the makerspace for thumbnailing?
Yeah, I guess. And that's something that I've been doing just recently in the last year and a half. Just drawing a little image has helped out so much more because what happens is if you full scale something and you mess up, then you're out of materials. And I've wasted more
Yes.
than my fair share of foam and for trying to do something I've never done before. So trial and error. Preventatives. That's what we're going for. So by doing it in the thumbnail, we can project light from behind it. And I thought of the really old school projectors when I was in elementary school.
Mm.
They would put the sheet on the glass and it would blow it up on the chalkboard. And I thought about using that. So I just kind of hooked my cell phone up and put it against a cutout of a tail I made
Oh, okay.
against the wall, and I was able to project the image of the tail up against the wall. I pasted a bunch of paper on it, and then I just drew the tail out from the projection. So I could position the duct tape dummy against the wall next to the cutout, and you can zoom the projection in and out,
To
and
adjust
you
the
could
scale.
yeah, adjust the scale on the tail so you can get just that perfect sizing. It's just a really simple little trick that I just kind of picked up, and it's working amazingly.
Oh, that's really incredible. So actually, you've been using that technique ever since.
Oh yeah. Ever since I did it for the first time, I loved the result. We're still doing it, and it can totally be applied to many different things. I mean, if you draw anything, any size, if you could just scale it up with light, you
Yeah.
could hold a ruler up to it. You could scale it to whatever size you need. It's honestly just the perfect way to go about
Yeah,
things.
that makes the most sense. Yeah, like really fine tuning what makes your life the easiest.
Yeah.
Because what would you do prior to that? You would use some sort of paper and then use that paper as a measurement, or
Yeah, we would just lay sheets of paper on a table and kind of get a rough measurement. So if your waist is X amount of height, then I'm going to make the tail from like the bottom of your ankle to your waistline. So
yeah,
roughly, we'll say like 32 inches hypothetically, and that's just all we had to go off of. So now that we can scale that up to your duct tape dummy being your body size and all that, we could
you,
you know
you yeah you can
accuracy
actually
right
look at
there.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
as
it's
you're
it's
making it.
nice. Well, I guess that plays into the whole depth perception thing. I with my left eye being wonky, it's just for me, it's a visual aid, being able to physically see it.
For sure.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot on the technical aspect. I might want to step back a little bit, so go more to the like general things. So for you, just recently joining the fandom back in the day, what other things, I guess, beyond the fursuits? Because yeah, it sounded like you just went head in first, like joining the community, going into fursuits and making. Were there other aspects that you've liked, been interested in here and there? Because the one of the things that always like surprises me is like, even though we're like a subculture, there's a lot of different facets that a lot of people gravitate towards that don't necessarily like apply to everybody. So like you have motor furs, you have I don't know, even like a group of aquatic furs that like diving or something like that. Something so wildly like specific.
Yeah,
Um,
it's there's a lot of specifics in this fandom, and you really only for me in my experience, you meet a lot of people at conventions, and I think cons were my favorite part. When I really hopped into the fandom after I started making suits, that first year I went to my first convention, and
mm.
my first con, I didn't do it small. I went right for the big one, and
Which one was
I
that?
was
AC?
18 years old. I went to Anthrocon.
Oh boy. I think, is that the largest con to date,
Not
or
anymore.
what surpassed it?
MFF with
Holy crap.
11,000 attendees. It is
Oh my
insane.
god.
I can't
Yeah.
even picture that. When I
Yeah.
went to Anthrocon last, I think the attendance was at maybe 6 or 7 thousand. So that's almost double. That's crazy.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think anybody could experience like everything that con has to offer within the first week. That's like amazing. You would have to go back and keep doing different things.
Oh yeah, and even I mean I've been going since I started going. I only skipped 1 year, but every year I go, there's always more things to find. Between panels and the dealer's den and
Hmm.
just there's art meetups, there's suit meetups, and you could turn a corner at any given time at a con like that, and you're gonna find something new and ridiculous
Something will grab
to
you and
get to
pull you
watch.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great for the social aspect of it because you have all these random interactions and you get to meet really cool people that you never really expect, and then you get to learn something new. And the more and more you learn, everyone just has this crazy awesome niche that they can do. Like some of the people I've met, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
funny.
what would be the most crazy thing? Oh, oh my dog.
Oh, that's that's okay. No problem. Maybe he has something to say on the podcast.
Oh yeah, he'll say bark, bark, bark.
Hmm.
No, yeah, no, everyone has this little niche. I mean, I found people that were as far as like police officers to, aquatic submarine divers. Like one furry does nuclear welding. It was crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a solid job. Like, how do you even get into something like that?
I don't
Um,
even know what nuclear welding is, but that sounds very complex.
one guy up in Buffalo, a friend of mine, he was a curator for the naval park in Buffalo. For so being a furry and all since I knew him,
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "Yeah, dude, you want to come check out the ships?" So I did, and we spent a night on the ships, and it was pretty wild.
Wow,
Um,
just from being a furry, just having that one thing in common.
yeah, we met over the years and we talked, and we became friends, and
Yeah.
eventually he invited me to go along with that, and that
Oh,
was
that's
pretty
dope.
wild. Yeah.
So the at the like Anthrocon and whatnot, you would attend panels specifically about what you were developing at the time, like learning a little bit here and there about fursuit making, or did you ever host a panel by chance, or what's your
I've
experience like that?
never hosted a panel. I actually want to. The local, semi-local con to me for Apocalypse, they would be the first if I was gonna do it. I don't know if I would go to Anthrocon and host a panel. That's a lot of people.
That's a little intimidating, yeah.
It's a little intimidating. But as far as panels go, I'll be honest, I didn't go to a lot of panels. I
Oh,
did I did do a lot of gaming stuff, but I was fond of browsing like the zoos, like any of the art
mm-hmm,
panels. I would
mm-hmm.
pop in here and there just to look because I like staring at furry art. A lot of artists are crazy talented, and I like watching like speed paint stuff like that.
Yeah, actually, so from the fur conventions in like the dealer's den or the artists' alleys, I was really inspired. Like when I went to my first convention, BLFC 2018, just last year. No, actually, it was this year in May, 2019. My bad. Seeing everybody like display their art and really like show you what they're capable of really touched me in a way that like wanted me to get a table for next year. So although I don't think I'll, have a large table or whatever, I was talking with one of my buddies to like split a table, and he's gonna bring one of his printers, and then we could actually make a few commissions there live. So that was really dope. The I understand it. Like we did talk before. You did actually have a table. Was it this past year, or do you host yours regularly?
Um,
For Oh yeah, by the way, for Fuzzworks, that's his studio. Sorry.
yes, Fuzzworks. We do host a table regularly at Furpocalypse in Cromwell, Connecticut. I've been going since 2012, and I've been vending since 2014, I believe.
Oh wow.
Um, yeah, it's the only con that's really close enough to me that I could drive to and cart all of our stuff. Conventions like Furry Week in Atlanta, I love it. That's my favorite con, by the way. But going down there and trying to sell, it's not as feasible 'cause I'd have to drive all the way down, which is 18 hours for me, and then I'd have to cart all the stuff and set up the tables, and it's just it's too much of a hassle.
Mm.
So Furpok is about 3.5 hours away, so that makes it easy. But yeah, it's a great little convention. It's a couple thousand attendees. It's not too crazy.
Oh, it's a good handful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Not
good handful.
not
It's
overwhelming.
yeah, not as overwhelming. A good social con. The artist alley is great. There's uh, oh, they're moving hotels. Actually, it started off at this little convention. It was a barbecue at first, I guess. Some
For
barbecue.
FWA?
Oh no, for Apocalypse. Sorry.
Oh, for POC. Okay.
Yeah, they started out as this little barbecue thing, and then it just kind of blew up each year, and then eventually it outgrew it. So next year we're moving to a new hotel, I guess, that's pretty close to New York City.
Oh.
So I can't wait for that. And vending there is going to be awesome since the occupancy limit's going to be raised.
Oh, nice. So
But
maybe a new local con.
yes, but the vending experience itself, I love the dealer's room. Um, you know, being able to go into a room and we have this thing where before the dealer's den opens, we can coordinate and we can talk to the other dealers before and after. And I think it's a great opportunity to socialize with everyone. You get to see what everyone else has made, what they're bringing to the con, and it's a good time to like find trades. I found so many like
Trades.
yeah, like so I thought it would be a little hard to find things that I wanted and trade with a maker. If there's something that I don't have to pay for, since we're a community, we each do our own
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's something that I make that you want, and there's something that you want, why not trade for it? So I've traded art for fursuit parts before. I don't
Oh,
have a
nice.
problem with that. And the dealer's done one year, last year there was like this little wolf pillow, and it was like it was just perfect. I loved it. It was made out of fur. It had these goofy like Facebook Pusheen eyes, you know.
Oh.
And, uh, I wanted it, so I went to her and I'm like, "Hey, is there anything you wanted by chance from my table? We could possibly make a
Hmm.
trade." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that'd be
You guys.
great." And she ended up taking a bunch of my fursuit teeth,
Oh.
and then we started talking about it. And I'm like, "So, what are you going to use my teeth for? I don't know. I haven't noticed you don't have any fursuit parts or anything."
Hmm.
She's like, "Oh, I make fursona dolls, and your little teeth I think would fit perfectly for my dolls." And I'm like, "No way, that's awesome."
Oh, that's
So
dope. Yeah.
yeah,
So
you
you
get
guys are
to
bargaining and barding
yeah,
in the dealer's den. That
yeah.
makes sense, actually. Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to remember though. We did discuss a lot of stuff beforehand, so I'm sorry if like some things kind of sound redundant or whatever. It might sound like I'm asking you twice.
No,
Um,
that's all right. I'm trying to remember the conversation we had the other day, and that went really well.
yeah, no, yeah, we went. I think we went for like a good near like 2.5 hours. That was really nice. But yeah, to reiterate, the things that we covered before, even some kind of like ethereal things was just like what, like to to break the ice in a simple way, like what does the fandom mean to you today, or how has that changed over time? Because I know I did talk with some of the other guests on the podcast, and they would mention that, like one of my close friends just mentioned that furry wasn't really easy for him to define. It was like he just put it. It was just fun, and he found that when he thinks of a fandom, there's no specific like foothold. Like for anime conventions and whatnot, you could think of like Naruto, and everybody will just gush over that one franchise. But
Yeah.
what we came to the conclusion before was like, oh, the fandom is just like we think of our friends, and there's not really one specific face. So I don't know if you could like add to that, or what's your thoughts on that type of?
Oh, that totally makes sense. At first, when I joined the community, it was solely due to the fact that I can meet new people. It was all friendships,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's why I do stay in this fandom and why I enjoy it so much is you do get to meet all these people from all around the planet, and you won't really find that experience anywhere else, I don't think. We all congregate together in one specific spot every other month
Mm-hmm.
to do the same exact thing, but yet we all bring so many different things together as a whole. And I think furries, they are what makes the community. I mean, no doubt. Um, all the talent. And
The
unlike the anime community, like you were saying, yeah, it's one specific thing. The creativity I like more. We have our own custom characters. We have personas.
Yes.
We're not limited to a storybook. We can write our own stories. It's as limited as our imagination can go, and that's what I love about it.
And that's really cool because like in your case, like in your artistic field, you're really like literally bridging the gap between like a person's like vision. They're like, "Hey, I kind of have this hazy idea." And like you literally like, "Oh yeah, here's that in real life and you can become that." And that's the part that I really gush over because it's like okay, I geek out a lot about other people's like, fursuit unboxing and stuff. And then I think one of the recent ones that I looked at was Hayu Martin. Are you familiar with that furry? Hayu? He's a pine
Uh,
marten, but he's really into like space and stuff, and he's made a lot of videos on space. He's a really cool dude. And he put on the suit, and then he just walks in front of the full body mirror, and then he's like, "Oh my gosh!" Like he's just like feeling his whole body. He's like feeling like a whole different person, and
mm.
or if anything, he's feeling more like himself, and that's like the part that I really like gush over. And he's like, long boy, and he's just a tube.
Just a tube.
Yeah, he's like Weasley, Pine Martin.
Yeah. Huh.
The so oh yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so there was a bit of like controversy, like like at least for me, this is just like in the entering phase of the fandom. I didn't really know what it was coming into it. Like to be honest, I looked at Vines, when that was a thing.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
there would be a lot of furry vines that would pop up on the main page from time to time. I'm like, what is this? And that's sort of like seeding the fursuits and like that subculture into my brain at the time. And I would see the comments on it and stuff and be like, stuff that just I think just catch people off guard, and then that's why they get defensive about it. So even with that kind of negative like connotations in the earlier days, I don't think that it's as maybe as toxic as it is to then. But like, did that sort of sway or make you question anything about like what the community was really about, or
Oh
etc.?
no, I don't think so. I mean, uh, I'm not an angel by any means. When I first saw the whole furry thing, I saw the
Mm.
GIF tag, and that's kind of
Yeah,
what drew
that's
me in.
that's honestly. Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's honestly what some people would be like. No, I cannot be a part of that. That's
Yeah, no,
too.
I mean,
That's too
that's
nefarious.
again though, it's not why I joined the community. It's just how I discovered it, and
Yeah.
people discover it in different ways. The main controversial community. Eh,
Oh no, not that I want to make it seem like a controversy, but like I was just wondering from your side of things, like was that ever a thing that ever barred you from getting more in touch with the fandom? Like,
No, I was never afraid to be a furry, I guess. I wasn't
yeah.
looking to hide it or anything. I mean, as soon as I decided to make suits, since I was young, I approached it to my mom, like, hey, I'm gonna start making animal costumes. And I don't even think she questioned me. She just looked very
Mm.
confused. And then a couple days later, I probably made the worst mistake that you could do as a new furry and send her the Wikipedia link.
Oh boy.
Don't send people that because it's not good. It is not an accurate representation of this community.
I mean, yeah, anybody can edit that, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, but no, I wasn't afraid. I mean, even now, I know it's not a sex thing. I know it's not all about
Yes,
what
100%.
people read on the internet. In today's age, we don't have Vine anymore, but TikTok's a huge thing. So a lot of children, like 12-year-olds, it's crazy. There's so many new like children in this community.
Mhm.
Uh, and to me, it's like, all right, furries, you gotta like watch yourself. You gotta tone down a
Mhm.
bit.
Yeah.
Don't be on Facebook. Don't be on Instagram. Don't post like NSFW stuff. Let's be reasonable.
And it
And
ultimately, yeah, it makes the community more welcoming and warm and inviting because just even at my first con at BLFC, uh, I did get caught up in like being around all of the adults, people my age, like 24, 25 and up. And then I see actual parents there and they're
yeah,
with their like 11 or 8-year-old daughter or son and they're in like a little full suit and that's like the most adorable thing.
yeah,
And
it's
then
crazy.
yeah, that makes you kind of slow down and be like, "No, this is for everyone." And you want to warm welcome them and just really make the best of that. The thing was though, shoot, what was it? Like I think a good point you made back in the previous conversation though was like considering that it's not like a sex thing or anything was when you talked to me about like being involved in Pottersville. So if anything, I know like that's not maybe the best representation of like the fandom, but I think it's a really good step in a mainstream way for showing people like what the community is, like in a very like kind of tongue in cheek way.
Yeah, yeah, we
What
can get into
was
that.
yeah, what was your experience in that? Because you told me a bit about it, so I wonder if you'd like to reiterate, like from getting the I don't know, getting the invite or like how the experience was on an
That was
actual set.
quite the experience. My buddy Pharaoh, who hosts Furcast, he invited me and a couple friends and some local furries to do this whole movie thing. At first, we were like, "What are you talking about? What's this? What are we going to be doing in suit?" And he said that it was going to be very tame. It was just this little show. We'd be in a scene, jumping around in a crowd, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, okay, we're down. And we head out there the day of the first filming, and it was just that we would hop in suit. We got the rundown, like, okay, you guys stand in this crowd, raise your arms up, cheer. You don't have to yell, but get into it. We'll edit it, do all that. And we're like, okay, so we're just jumping around like, yeah, Bigfoot, Bigfoot, or something like that.
Yeah, so Pottersville, by the way, is like a movie that briefly goes over like this little small town that gets enamored by the Bigfoot mystery.
Yes. It's some comedy remake of It's a Wonderful Life or something along those lines. But Ron Perlman was there. Ian McShane, Tom Lennon, Christina Hendricks, and Michael Shannon. Yeah,
Yeah, those are really big names. Yeah.
they are really big names. And when we were talking about it, this whole film was, we're like, okay, is this some cheap little budget like comedy thing? But why are like these people, these big named actors here? It was awesome though. The first day we didn't get to see Ron Perlman more than I think once for like maybe 10 minutes. Tom Lennon was there for a little bit, but we didn't get to meet any of the actors or anything. So we are like, oh. But we found out that we had to go back for a second film. And I believe it was 2 or 3 weeks later. So we had to back out. We went to another city, Syracuse, New York, and they had this factory set up out here in like the middle of nowhere. And we're like, okay, is this the right place? With
Just a
all these
big
cars.
random
Yeah,
warehouse.
yeah, it was pretty much just that. And there's a bunch of cars parked out in front, so we're like, okay, this has to be it. We get inside and we sign in, and there's everyone, and it's just like crazy bustling. So we're kind of peeking around, and we open one of the doors, and we see the room where they're shooting in, and it was just this massive, crazy room with all these trees, and they were real trees set up this whole forest, fake snow. It was wild. Um,
It was a
so
full
that's when we,
blown production.
yeah, full blown production. So then we realized, all right, this is serious. So we suited up and we were there for 8 hours filming. We were there with Ron Perlman and Tom Lennon, and it got to our part where the director said, "All right, Blue Dog, you're barking over here, and then you're over there," and it was pretty tame. But progressively throughout the night, I think the director kind of changed the shift of things, and he's like, "All right, you start grinding on this guy, and you start
Oh
grinding over there. You need to howl at the moon and scratch him." And we're like, "Okay." So we went for it. I mean, it was a fun experience. Grinding on Tom Lennon, that was uh, can't
Yeah,
get
no,
that out of my head.
that night I watched the movie from what you were telling me, and I was like, oh my god, there's Pharaoh and there's Blix, and then that was like, it was funny because you could see like where they would get like, because not all of them were actual fursuits. They had some mascot costumes.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The production, the costume department, whoever
Hmm.
they were the ones who actually casted, and they talked to Pharaoh, who got
Oh
everyone in.
wow.
They wanted as many real furries as possible, and they were talking to me about getting costumes made. And I'm like, whoa, guys, like we have a month. Like I cannot make you fursuits. Like it's
Yeah.
impossible, So I had some that were made, and I contacted the customer of one of the finished ones I had. So I brought one of mine, and they rented the
Mhm.
suit out for me. That's what happened.
Oh
And I had
wow.
my own fursuit, so they essentially rented my suit for the movie, and that's how we got to be a part of it. Um,
Wow, so there was
they,
like some sort of contract for like your suit becoming a prop for the movie, actually.
yes,
Oh
that's
wow.
pretty much how this whole opportunity came to be, from my understanding. As a bonus, because they were paying, side actors, just regular local people to fill in, because they needed the costumes. We filled in that part since they were
And
ours
that's,
anyhow.
I think that's no, okay, like despite the direction for like, yeah, grind on Tom Lennon or whatever, like having a person that's like actually conscious and just saying like, no, we're not gonna CIS this. We're just going to have actual people who come from the community and actually just, be kooky and stuff and be fun and loving. That's the part that I really respect that they did the most.
Yeah, and the regular mascots that you saw in there, they were just like these low budget things that they brought in and they rented from costume shops
Mm-hmm.
locally, and they put regular people in them, and
Yeah, the
you
bunny
know,
girl and
yeah,
the Ron
the bunny
Perlman when
girl.
he was the wolf.
Yes. That was an experience. Now, being like fursuiters, we're used to being in suit for so long, but we
Hmm.
were watching these regular people suit up, and we had to stop frequently while filming because they were overheating.
Oh, they weren't used to that. Oh,
Yeah, they
okay.
weren't used to it, and we were used to it. We had to like take a step back
Was
and
this
realize what was going on.
was this actually in the winter at all? So like was all that snow even real in the set or
It was in the winter. The first scene where we were in the crowd chanting, that was real. That was 100%
Oh,
real
okay,
snow.
okay.
We were nice and warm. Um, but in the film, in the big room in the forest scene, that was fake snow. It was almost like potato flakes or
Oh,
something, just
wow.
like around polyfill. It was all movie magic. But yeah, that was all fake. The trees were real though. That was it.
Oh, okay. Oh, so was it actually room temperature in there and everything while you guys were
Yeah, it
singing?
was it was room
Oh,
temperature.
sounds
So as
brutal.
we were flailing around in suit, yeah, it got pretty hot.
Okay. And I like the part too where Ron Perlman would come out and he would like yell at the other actors like, "No, I'm a furry," and it's
I
like
was.
that's the part that blew me and my mate when we were watching it last night. I was like, "Wow, I can't believe they're really doing this."
Oh, they did it. It was fun. But the way I looked at it is if there's going to be, film in the furry community, at
Mm-hmm.
least, it's a comedy. It was funny. The thing that got
Yeah.
the most flack back in the day was the whole CSI Miami episode with Sexy the kitty. That was bad. That
Yeah.
represented the community pretty badly.
Like at least yeah, in the mainstream on television no less, like this is the image you're gonna throw out. And I bet you they did not consult anybody at all remotely. Just probably
No,
somebody.
not really. We had episodes between, My Strange Addiction had a furry episode, A Thousand Ways to Die. You have Tosh Point oh. You have uh, Pottersville, and there's a lot. There's so many things with Lucifer. That was a big one. They were casting hundreds of furries they were going
Oh,
through.
what is Lucifer? I've never heard of that.
Um, I haven't watched it yet, so I can't really elaborate on the
Oh,
show so
okay.
much. But it's a Netflix show. Um, I don't.
How were the furries necessarily involved?
I'm not sure. They did some sort of episode with furries. I haven't watched it. I gotta go watch
Oh,
it. But
okay.
that's something that people can go and look. Get a little mystery in there. Um, but yeah, all I knew at the time was they were looking for just tons and tons of furries, and I was browsing around Facebook, and every one of my friends, it seemed like they're like, "Oh yeah, we got the script, this, that." I'm like, "Okay, this is big."
They're really
Um,
stoked to be a part of it at least though.
yeah, and it just all plays into this whole big scheme of things, I think, where the fandom it's so mainstream now, and that's how
That
we have all these furries joining in. There's a lot of new populations. Um,
Yeah, I have gotten a little bit of flack with some close friends because they were more veteran furs, and even though I've only been in the fandom for like three-ish years now, um, they sort of feel this kind of cultural shift of yeah, going in the mainstream and kind of being that like like old school like sitting in Starbucks like that's too mainstream kind of thing, and
yeah.
they kind of find like it like being less of a special like niche in their world. I, on the other hand, though, am more of a proponent that more people entering the fandom means that we're even flourishing more with more art, more perspective, more, like jabs into like yeah, television productions and everything. Like that's if we're gonna represent ourselves, why not do it in the best possible light?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I firmly believe that we should, as a community, represent
Yeah.
ourselves in the best way possible, to prevent all the weird stuff,
And even yeah, even seeing did you ever watch coming from like the 80s or 90s videos of like the first local cons and what
Oh,
those would be like? And that's just
yes.
like comparing what I've known even from like the past 3 years ago, it is totally the game has totally evolved and changed and matured over that time. Like seeing I think a lot of people even had like body paint and stuff just as a regular animal. It wasn't even like considered a fursona, I don't know at that time.
Yeah, so back then in the 70s and 80s, it all kind of started with a comic out there called Albedo's Anthropomorphics.
Oh.
The comic writer who wrote the Xenomorphs and developed them for Alien, he was the same guy who wrote the first kind of anthropomorphic comic book. So that spread off, and that kind of created the furry subculture at first. Now, we didn't really have the internet back then, so the only way for furries to really communicate, they had IRC chat logs through this website called Furry Muck, and the chairman of Anthrocon, Uncle Kage, he gets into that a lot. He was a huge part of that, I guess. But there wasn't. so much conventions. There were some out in California in the mid 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was more of like an Avatar approach where people were all painted up as their characters or whatever they created.
Because yeah,
Um,
fursuits weren't necessarily like a big thing. It was just to represent your
no,
like a character at all.
the first representation of a fursuit that I've ever seen came from a gem of a video dating from Anthrocon like 93 or 94, way back when it very first started in Albany, New York. And then they went to Philadelphia and then they transferred to Pittsburgh. But the Albany videos, yeah, the fursuits back then were quite interesting.
If yeah, I think a lot of them were no doubt like actual like mascot costumes that you would see at sporting events or something like that too. Just like it
There
just so
were
happened to be the animal they liked.
Yeah, there were a lot of mascots. There were some custom ones, but the custom ones were they,
It's
they
okay.
had
There's no judgment.
I there was this one. All right, man. This one I saw in an Anthrocon video from like the '90s. There was this big pink cat, and she had big old just boobs, but they were like legit beach balls tucked
Oh wow.
under this like fur. It was like what you would see in like a hyper like original furry comic or something. And
I think
it
I
was
have seen
crazy.
those. Yeah, was it like a fleece suit type of thing where it was
Yes.
kind of like foldy and it really has come a long way. Like as
It's come
far
a long
as
way.
as
I'm happy with the way fursuits are
I
nowadays.
notice it's I don't know like as a maker though, have you noticed this trend where like from then it was more humanoid. So like the human aspect of the anthro was very like prominent, and over time it's even gotten to like more of this like thick paw kind of big cartoony type of feel.
Yeah, yeah. There's a huge style rift in fursuits. The most common would be the thick paw, big toony fursuits, and
Mm,
uh, makers like Autumn Fallings and One for All or More for Less.
they
They
love
make
their
these toony
beans.
suits, and yeah, they make so many of them, and they just kind of establish that style out there. So,
Oh, that's a good
you
point
know,
actually. Yeah, just from
pe- when people they see that style and they see someone outputting so much work, it's going to latch on and it's going to get shared around, and more people, the more they see it, the more that they seem to like it. But there are other styles out there. You have realistic makers, semi-realism, which I think I fall under more or less
yeah, I
semi-real.
definitely see that. You have a
And then
very
you have
charming, realistic like attitude.
yeah, and then you have your cartoony stuff. But there's humanoid things. There's a bunch of like little niche makers out there that don't get a lot of notice because they make all these very weirdly specific things. But this one girl out there, Magpie Bones, she makes LARP masks. They're phenomenal. And they're kind of simply made in like material aspect, but it's not something that I can make. And they're like full fox masks, but you use your own eyes. There's no fursuit eyes or anything.
Oh wow, is that actually does that kind of sounds like it falls into uncanny territory, does it? Or
I
does
don't
it
know.
hmm.
See, I like them. Now, there are fursuits out there, like full-on fursuits.
Mhm.
Mixed Candy made one, and some other guys. But you use your own eyes, and you have your big colorful dog character, and that looked a little weird to me.
Oh,
But
okay.
because the LARP thing was more realistic, uh, I don't know. It seems to fit more. They're a lot slimmed down. You don't have the big, like puffy, prominent, foam cheeks on suits and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It contours to the face.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
LARPing was that's coming from like more of a medieval
Yeah,
style.
like the
That's
the live action role play guys and the SCA stuff like that. They go and meet up and they beat each other with foam swords and
yeah.
shields. you know?
I mean, yeah, that sounds even funner in Fursuit, to be honest. I would love to do
Oh yeah, I think
that.
that sounds like a blast. I'm sure it's been done.
Is something I don't know how recent or new like the protogens are. So is that the type of unique Daft Punk styled masks that's been
Yes.
circulating? What are your thoughts
There's
on those?
so there's two different kinds. There's protogens and there's primogens. The protogens are the free realm species. They're not restricted according to the creator, so you can kind of make them whatever way you want, following a select set of guidelines like Angel Dragons
Hmm.
are. Uh, Kyborg Studios are the guys that made them. No, they're interesting. They're pretty cool. I don't know if it's something that I don't like animatronics and electronics that far. It's a lot of work.
With like,
um,
I don't know, do you need like a Raspberry Pi or something like hidden in
yeah,
there?
there's a lot to them. It kind of strayed me away from wanting to do animatronics and stuff because I've had a few customers go up to me and they're like, "Hey, do you think you could do something like this?" And I said, "Well, I can make the helmet and the visors and stuff like that, but I don't want to touch the electronics.
Yeah,
You
it
do
can get.
need They're driven by Raspberry Pis, Arduinos, the eyes on the heads with all the animatronic or the animations. They're OLED panels. There's just a series of dots, and you can
Hmm.
program them using like Python script and all this other
Oh wow.
crazy computer magic. But yeah, there's a bit to them.
They're basically just like portable displays, yeah, that they're actually using.
Yeah, they're big portable displays.
Oh, it'd be cool to play some GIFs through those. I was just thinking about that actually, like for raves and cons and stuff. That'd be really dope.
Yeah, they're super bright. I mean, you can get pretty creative with them. Um, Other wild. The What other species? Angel dragons are another one. I mean, a lot of people hop onto these trends, I think. They like the
Hmm.
species trends, and I think it's great. It refreshes the furry fandom a little bit. It gives a new species and a new market to open up, and it gives kind of a whole new challenge to fursuit makers.
Is this trend like when some maker or something or some artist just starts throwing out a species that's just like getting popular, or like how does that
Yeah,
start?
I've seen it happen a few ways.
Because speaking of angel dragons, right? Isn't telephone one? What is she the first, or
Yeah,
how did that start?
Telephoner, she created them. I don't know when, some years ago. And then they just blew up. She did YouTube videos and convention videos. She was one of the original furries, I guess, if you want to say, for like what
The
okay,
mainstream.
yeah, the mainstream furries back then, like 2012, whenever you look at that year span of the community, you see a couple suitors. You see Auri, Skittles, and Telephone, and
Mm.
they were like these suits. They kind of set the standards. Phoenix Wolf was the first person to make Telephone's suit. Uh, it, oh no, that's not true. I don't want to lie. She made her first one, and I think she commissioned one from
Oh,
uh,
okay.
from from Phoenix Wolf. And then the one from Phoenix Wolf ended up catching on, and then people just loved it, and then she blew up from there.
And then now you
But
see angel dragons left and right at every con.
yeah, you see
Yeah.
Angel Dragons left and right, and as it grew, Telephone set her rules and guidelines because people started copying her character, and then it
Oh.
created this whole other influx of like art theft. So
Yeah, how does that work though? Like when you make this species, I mean, I don't know if you know too much, but like, is it like a copyrighted thing, or can people just take their artistic freedoms with it? Because it's just, a species just sounds pretty open.
I mean, in I think reality, the way it works is, yeah, it's an open species. You can make something as you know how you want to make it.
Mm-hmm.
It's limited to your imagination. But when it comes into species, they do set rules. But I think it's more or less the creator wants to protect their character. Because Telephone, her big thing was the white ring on her nose, and
The
don't
squeaking.
copy. Yeah, don't copy someone else's character. I think it's fine as long as you don't completely rip off another person's character. Um,
No, I'm gonna take this color and this design, but I'm gonna tweak it just a bit, and it's gonna be my original OC.
yeah.
Yeah, that just like throws me into like Sonic OCs or something like that. No offense to people who like
Oh
Sonic,
God.
but
Yeah.
if you're Sonic and you have all the features, but you're just green, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
original.
that's a whole different story. That's not originality at all. Uh, she did change it. Now there's like Dutch Angel Dragons, but there's other things out there too. There's the Mana
Isn't
Kits.
Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Mana Kits are cool. The creator of those, Dubmutt, she made the first fursuit after she made the ref sheet for the species, and then everyone loved her suit because it was unique, it was different. That was hers. So I mean, as I think myself, I would want to keep that originality,
Mm-hmm.
that way, people could appreciate it and such. But no, she made it into a species and opened it up, which is cool too. And then what she did that others wouldn't allow was she allowed another company, Dream Vision Creations, and whoever else, with consent, you can make fursuit parts for sale and replication. So
Oh,
other
okay.
people can buy a cast of a head of a mannequin, and you don't have to pay royalties or whatever, which is awesome.
You're not gonna need like the
So
whole shebang. You can just buy this one specific part if
yeah,
need be.
so that's a whole open species, unlike the primogens, where if you want a suit from them, they essentially you have to go to them to buy
Yeah,
it.
yeah. The even like I guess Circles too. That's an original
Oh yeah,
like
circles.
persona that the fandom created that I think has been by far one of the most prolific. Cheese wedges and stuff, and the memes are everywhere. It's even like I
Oh god,
always see
yeah.
a Circle meme here and there. And then what was it? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Cruxes.
Is Crux a
Yeah,
one? Yeah,
crux.
okay. Yeah, I don't even know what those things are about. I've just heard the name.
They're I think they're a really cool species. I actually had a crux character way back when. I I can't remember too much on him. I know the original artist, I can't remember his name. He did him on FA, as he wrote a story with him, and he released like the first image of it many,
Mm.
many, many years ago. And they're kind of like a very tight-knit species. Their backlog is a little bit weird. They were like some weird sciencey experiment that got wrong, and the common trend with Cruxes is like they were all named after a drug. Like
Oh
one,
wow.
there's a Xanax Crux, and then this one guy I know, his name is bath salts Crux.
Yeah.
You know,
And they all kind of have like these really like psychedelic features and like kind of hypnotic eyes or really like pointy and zany ears and stuff I've seen before.
yeah,
Um,
I would call them like weird Aztec zebra
yeah, for sure. Oh, that's a good
things.
description. Oh my God. I just forgot
Well,
what
if
I was
you
gonna
want to
say.
talk about species, though, I know
Oh,
one
yes.
closed species.
Okay,
This
yes.
girl has just a brown dog. That's her closed species. No one else is
Is it
allowed
a
to make a
Labrador or
brown
something? What
dog.
is that?
I think it's just a plain brown dog, like a lab or something. Yeah.
You know what? That's
That
cute.
was-
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Oh, okay, this yeah, okay, so speaking of species, like so going into hybrids now, like what do you think of griffins or just I think one of the really unique ones was shark like a shark dog canine type thing and then they have like, the face and the muzzle of a canine and then they got the like little cute shark tail on the back.
Oh yeah. I don't know what the name for those are, but the oh, what was the one you just said before that? The
Griffin.
oh, the Griffins. Yeah, yeah, Griffins. I got a few of them I have to make. I think Griffins are awesome. They're cool.
Have you made
I mean,
wings
I
before?
haven't made wings yet.
Oh.
But one suit that I'm making will have some wings on it. I'd like to do like the arm wings that they're attached, but these ones are just like ones that sit on your back with like a backpack rig sort of thing. Um, but no, Griffins are wild. I like hybrids a lot. I'm not too fond myself of birds, so
Because of
what
the beak?
I
No?
not so much because of the beak. The beak can be a challenge sometimes, but no, I hate birds, man.
Oh
I
no, don't say that.
I'm sorry, but I was over a friend's house when I was young. I was like 13, 14, and it's the first time I'm going over a girl's house, and I sit on the couch and I'm just waiting patiently, and I was talking to her mom. Her mom walks out and they have this big old macaw. As soon as she walked out of this door, this macaw came flying at me and it just straight bit my back and
Oh
lashed onto
shoot.
me. So like ever since then I'm like, I hate birds. I
They
hate
have like
them.
massive beaks and
Yeah, they're scary. That hurt.
oh god. Okay, that's fair enough. That sounds traumatizing to say the least. Well,
Yeah,
imagine if it was a dog that bit you early on. Oh, there goes 95% of the furry fandom.
I mean, I did get attacked by a dog at a young age too, but dogs don't scare me. I know dogs are
Hmm.
great, but no, just birds. I
Oh
they're
man.
they're a weird species to make with fursuits. I think they scare a lot of makers, and I've made a few. My first one was Kobe, from Caviar, and it came out awesome for my first bird.
Yeah,
So it
I forget the maker for one of these birds. Have you ever heard of Adler the Eagle? I think his suit just
yes,
came out beautifully. Like his beak and his features are really spot on.
yeah,
And I
there's a lot of great suits.
don't know whose maker that is necessarily.
Yeah, I can't place the name, but I know who it is you're talking about. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they're great. There's a few bird makers out there that just do phenomenal work, and you got to give praise to them because it's it's a lot. You have to do the full
Yeah.
wings and beak placement on a suit. I'll tell you from experience, it's not easy. When you try to like attach cheek foam to the beak and you're trying to make it look like a natural flow, and you're
Yeah.
making a really slender aerodynamic animal into like this cartoony thing, it's really hard to translate.
Yeah, especially if you want that flow, like you said, that has to be established.
Yeah, and with griffins, I think it's a little bit easier in my mindset. I just, okay, let's carve a dog, but we're gonna slap ears on it, but we're not gonna do a muzzle. We're just gonna rip that off afterwards, and we're gonna slap a beacon.
Mm-hmm.
Done. It's something along those lines.
And then just
Oh,
pray it holds together.
yeah, pray it holds together. No, but no, I think hybrids are great. I make a lot of foxes, I make a lot of dogs, and you get burnt out doing the same things. I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, the characters are different, but
I was
I
just
want to
gonna
make
say, yeah, you would like to switch it up sometime and actually try a different whole nother species.
yeah, like a refreshing character is always good for the mental state of a maker. I think if you can make something that if I can make something that I want to make and make it the way that I want to make it, I think that's the best thing that someone could do. You get to really unleash your creativity. And I have a lot of methods and stuff that I don't really get to try out. And when I make pre-made suits, a lot of that is just trial and error with new methods. And, um, you know, and I stray away from traditional species like the foxes and the dogs. Like, my next pre-made it's going to be a bat.
Okay.
But I'm
Ooh.
going to go pretty wild. It's going to it's going to have 4 ears on it. Um,
Is that gonna be a partial or a full suit with the full wingies?
I, I'm gonna start it off as a partial,
Oh,
and
okay,
what I
okay.
like to do with stuff like that is if someone grabs the partial suit, then they can go back to me for the upgrades, and then they can purchase the parts at a later date.
Well, that's actually a really interesting business model too, because yeah, the partial industry is pretty big too for conventions. I see a lot of people they won't necessarily have like a character in mind, and then they see something that catches their eye, and they're like, I just want to embody that thing.
Yeah, and convention spaces and suits they go hand in hand. When furries go to cons, they would love a fursuit, and a lot of the times people go to conventions with a bit of money in their pocket to
Mm-hmm.
buy a suit if one catches their eye. And pre-made suits, honestly, in today's fandom, is one of the best ways to go because you can go to a con and you'll have a person whose first experience is there, and you get to give them their first suit. And after that, you can build relations. You have a new client. You have someone who's going to go back to you potentially, and you get to earn money off of that. The business lives,
Mm-hmm.
and you get to
That
make more people happy.
that
Who's going to
does
go to more attention or more conventions and advertise for you?
It does bring up a really good, really big thing I wanted to ask you actually since the last conversation we had, and that was when you like make something that's one piece, like you make a whole suit that's tens, maybe even hundreds of hours for some of just making that one character, and when you have to send it off, like, do you feel like that's one of a kind and it took out like so much of you? Like, what is that kind of, do you feel
Oh, let me
detached
tell you.
afterwards, or how do you feel?
Some of the stuff we've made, it goes so in depth. This one green and black head I made for this customer, he goes by Toxic. His head had 137 individual pieces of fur on it.
Wow.
There was 5 different types of black fur. There was 7 different fur lengths in total, and every little detail to me counts. So when you do stuff like that, it takes a while. So by
Mm-hmm.
the time I was done, I was over 100 hours into just that head, split between my job. And when you mail something off that you spent so much time on, and you get to stand back, and after all the pain and struggling, you get to see it finished, and it is one of the best feelings ever. It's super relieving for me, and it's super sad to see it go through that door because
Yeah.
I want to keep everything I make when I'm done. Especially the last suit. Bowden came out wonderfully. He's been our first digi
Yeah.
suit since
Beautiful suit.
we finished in a couple years, and uh, we couldn't be happier, and we couldn't be happier that he's happy with it.
And then yeah, you're like the fursuit mama, or like, I guess the papa. And then
Yeah,
you get to
first
see
suit
him
dad.
go. Yeah, fursuit dad. And
I
then
want to see myself someday where I have that group photo from, you see
that's
other
that's
makers.
why I think you should like host a panel or something sometime soon, so people can just like really exhibit all of your beautiful work.
Yeah, I think next year is going to be a good year. We're going to do a lot of catching up. We're
For Furpak
gonna
or
in general
oh,
for
okay.
Furpak, we do have big plans. We're gonna devote a lot of time this year. My girlfriend has been a major help. We're gonna get a lot of fursuit jewelry sculpted up, a lot of 3D printable objects.
Ooh.
We're gonna go pretty far with that. I'm doing a lot more resin casting, so we're gonna have a lot of a new variety of parts to use with our suits. Other than that, we wanna work our queue down as best as we can, and we got a lot of crazy dogs to make this year.
Well, that's
So
really awesome to know, and like that's sort of the direction you're heading for coming into the whole new decade for 2020.
yeah,
Okay, well, thanks for joining me today. I know it's been kind of haphazard and it's early in the morning for me, and maybe it's a little early for you there too, but I'm so glad that you could make time out of your really busy schedule, especially, with your quota and everything. So thank you so much. Is there anything else, like, do you like to let your followers know or anybody like in your space know what you're up to, or any updates?
uh, I guess if it's anything that could be said, it's just we're working one day at a time, and as we work, we'll get updates out there, and we're gonna make every single one of you as pretty as possible.
Okay,
But
thank you so much, Blix.
just thanks for having me. It's been fun. Thank you.